Yo, internet, how's it going? Welcome back. I have a pretty wonderful setup of articles today, and starting out, we have the wonderful question of the Division 2 versus Anthem. Which looter shooter is right for you? The Division. Out of question. It is the Division. Okay. Now this is even talking about setting, which at this point it doesn't matter what the setting is, because again, I'm never gonna really put a lot of time into Anthem, but as far as what I do know, like both games, like for their stories, nobody's worried about the story. Okay, I mean, like the only thing that I know about the Division 1 is that somebody put Superflu onto like a dollar bill in New York, and then New York was just gone, right? And then like the second game is supposed to be 6 months after that, and everything is still terrible. That's about it, you know. And then Anthem contrast, it lets you ride around in an Iron Man suit, and then they talk about how that your town was destroyed at one point, or at least like it was attacked at one point. Okay, that you can't participate in. Like that's about it, you know. In the gameplay, yeah, one of them is obviously better than the other because basically one of them is a very tactical is a very tactical shooter where that split decisions, the skills you have, they actually play a part in the small skirmishes in which that you play in. Whereas the other one is, well, you gotta level up your Iron Man armor. You go, so like you fly around, if you find some enemies, you beat them up, and that's pretty much about it. Because specifically, I really can't look at it and say, oh yeah, man, like this is wonderful, you know, that kind of thing, you know. As for this one specifically, or at least like what is going on within the time investment. Time investment is one of those rare occasions where that, like, okay, you have gameplay, you got time investment, which seem to go hand in hand, because it's like, okay, like if I'm doing the gameplay, if it's fun enough, then it's not really too bad for me to constantly keep on playing it. However, when it comes down to like, if you're looking at both games specifically, god damn it, yeah, like when you look at both games, it's like, well, how much time, like, is the time that I'm putting into leveling up all of my armors and everything, that worth it? Normally, kind of doesn't feel like it. But then for the Division, is more or less like me making that trip to get to level 30. Does that feel fulfilling? At the most, so like for the most part, it does. Because even after you get that, then you're kind of in this whole thing of, okay, now I have to get a gear score. I have to do all this, and I gotta keep on going. You know, so the time investment seems a bit more. I know I didn't explain that too well, but it seems as though is that, or at least just for the Division, like its campaign of saying like, okay, just walking around town, taking in the sights, collecting the control points, it feels very fulfilling. And at the same time, like your time seems like, or at least like, and you do see a change in the world, it feels more like that your time is being invested wisely. Whereas in Anthem, you know, it seems as though is that it doesn't really feel as fulfilling as what people make it out to be, or the diehard fans of it, the people who are still playing it and hoping that it's gonna get better. One of those kind of things where it doesn't really feel good. The group dynamic is pretty much wonderful. Basically, Destiny 2 is a drop out co-op game. You can play it solo, you can play it with your friends. Friends can fast travel to you so that they can get to you. Like if you're in a gunfight, you can go to them. If they're like in a location that you're not there yet, you don't want to get you're dealing with strides of that. If you are playing solo, you can call in other people to come and help. You can go to somebody else's game to help, that kind of thing. Whereas Anthem just tells you straight up, hey, listen, you can play this alone, but we advise that you make with a few people so that it's not as bad for you. But at the same time though, yes, man, like look at this armor. This armor is amazing, but the problem with it is though is that the game itself is not like, it's either by yourself or with other people. Choose. The other one is, hey man, like like my world goes along with your world, and it's accommodating for friends to come in and join and play with me, or I play with them, like, you know, like that kind of thing. You know, like even strangers, you can matchmake with them and run through their world and help them out with missions and everything. As for the in game is basically the nail in the coffin for Anthem, because Anthem's in game at the moment is just okay. Once you beat the game, you kind of have to open up these specific what was it say, like what were they called? Oh yeah, tombs. The tombs of the four late great freelancers. And basically you have to do specific things, which slows the game down. You kind of have to fill up these lists and bars and whatnot to go in there and go into like a Final Fantasy 15-esque dungeon, or at least like where like you get the holy swords and whatnot. You got to go into an area similar to that, and you get some items, and then you leave. You got to do it all over again three more times. Whereas in the Division, I don't know if I've been saying Destiny, but if I have been, I mean the Division. In the Division, you have the Dark Zone, like you got world tiers. You do like when you reach world tier 1, like brand new enemies show up. In this case, the Black Tusks. They have their own like specific weapons and skills. You know, like it's basically a. Oh, I didn't focus on. There we go. We have a brand new faction, which to a certain extent, for people who have played the first game, you would know that every faction in this game is basically the first faction from the first game with a different name, you know, because I'll say and so on and so forth. But like, it's a brand new group, brand new weapons. They have high-tech weaponry and whatnot. They even have like robot dogs and whatnot with cannons all on their back on some Metal Gear Solid stuff. So again, if you're gonna pick a game to play, I would say the Division. Even if you don't like this kind of game, it's still fun to play with friends and run through everything. But getting off all of that though, let's talk about I kind of wanted to mention this though, is like that some of the GMs who worked on Anthem, they went out and said that yeah, it felt surreal and tough watching Anthem have a very troubled launch and mediocre reception. And to a certain extent, I can, like, if anybody's read that article by Jason Schreier, I think it was Jason Schreier at Kotaku. Like, if you read that article from him, like, I kind of don't like, unless these guys weren't working on the project, or they didn't, or like they weren't there for previous years when EA gave them all this time to kind of work on it. Like, unless they weren't there for that, you know, like with the whole pre-planning, and they've been doing that for 5 years, I kind of don't understand why they didn't understand why the game didn't get as positive of reception as any other game come out. But, you know, like, it is what it is. I kind of look at the game and I'm like, well, I wanted to like it, but yeah, that's just not going to happen. And something big that Destiny 3 and should borrow from both Destiny 2 and Anthem. Now, this goes back into my previous video of when I was talking about there really is no difference between, or at least like there virtually isn't too much of a difference between being a warlock, being a titan, or being a hunter. And specifically the games that he was talking about, what he's specifically talking about in this article is that in the Division, like once you reach World Tier 1, you get a specialization. Okay, you can either use a crossbow, you can either use a grenade launcher, or you can use a high-end sniper rifle. Now, and a fourth specialization is coming in the future. Now, specifically, you're not locked into these specializations, even though they all have their own little thing, right? Specifically, if you're the guy with the crossbow, which is a survivalist, you actually, you're more of the healer, because again, you get the healing secret mines. But mines, the med kits you use, like they also affect your teammates if they're close. Say like if they're close enough to you, and so on and so forth. You're sort of like a semi-healer in in a sense, and you can change depending on whichever one you want. And the same thing is said for Anthem, which is a good thing for that game. because you're not locked into a javelin. You can swap javelins like on the fly. I'm not sure if you can do it live while you're doing matchmaking or before, but specifically you can go back and change javelins, and like you can jump in and out. So basically you're not hard locked into one thing. Whereas in Destiny, if you pick a warlock, you're a warlock. If you're say pick a titan, you're a titan. Simple as that, you know what I mean? But the question is like, well, now I kind of don't want to replay the entire game like just to have a titan like at a certain level. I don't want to replay the whole game like at a certain level so that not a titan, but or I can have a hunter, you know, that kind of thing. But as I've stated previously, like in the video, which I did kind of miss out on one thing, and I apologize for that. It was in the Division, not in the Division, in Destiny, right? I keep mixing those names up, but in Destiny, right, or at least in Destiny 2, it's like the Warlock has a specific ability that only he has. The Titan has an ability that only he has, and so does the Warlock. It's like that the Warlock can drop down like a healing circle or a amplification circle to up bullet damage or heal shields. You know what I mean? The Titan can put up a shield wall and use that to kind of make to cordon off like their own defenses, which is cool. But the problem with that is that even if I could swap in between them, I mean, and change my ability, literally the only difference that I'm getting there is a different special ability, different different armor, and a different specialty skill, and possibly changing the perks on my melee, like melee and grenades. That's about it. But specifically though, like, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because with the change, it might actually be a good thing, because it might actually kind of add up a little bit more speculation. That, and also if they wanted more RPG elements for Destiny 3, this would be a good way to do it, because it would kind of allow some of the players to say, you know what, the Warlock is meant for this, I'm more of this, rather than it being, yeah, like, I'm just a hunter because, you know, I can be, you know, like, hunters are supposed to use crossbows and so on and so forth, but that's something that's aligned with their special weapons, you know, because a Titan can always, I mean, like, a Titan can use a hand cannon, a Warlock can use a hand cannon, and so can a hunter, you know, and the specifics, and the specifics, like, of how the weapons work doesn't really change. But that is what I gotta say about that. That, and also like how they do their enhancement cores. I kind of missed out on that. How they do their enhancement cores and like level up your weapons and armor. Yeah, that's also a problem. But hopefully they do fix all that in the future. I'll catch you guys on the next Jongravesshow. Keep watching anime, keep playing video games. See you next time. Out.